Good evening, guys. So great to see everybody's faces. Heather, can you hear me? I see your face.
Yes, ma'am. I can hear you loud and clear. I'm going to see you in like 2 seconds.
Awesome. Okay, looks good. So we will go ahead and get started here a little bit early. Just kind of want to ask Heather some questions, and you guys, I want you to get familiar with her. She's actually the one that sent in the email and wanted to have Jason Camper on a Zoom with our team. So I'm grateful that she did that, and she's been such a big part of the leadership on this team and always just a leader that somebody would want to follow. So, Heather, just to introduce yourself to everyone, I would like for you to just start and share kind of when you got started on Thrive, why you got started on Thrive, and what was your life prior to Thrive, like getting started on Thrive, and what was your life like before you said yes?
Well, thank you, Allison, so much for that kind introduction. Entering our team into this was a no-brainer when I saw we had the opportunity to interview one of the masterminds behind Thrive, the 8-week experience. Just to kind of give you guys some background, I was a 15-year educator, working 2.5 jobs and getting my master's degree, waiting tables at night when I first heard about the Thrive experience. And like many of you guys, I had several friends that had tried to share some things with me that offered energy and mental clarity and helped aid with a little bit of weight loss. And it never worked for me. And so when I heard about Thrive, like I just kind of strolled past it. And then one day I had a good friend that I truly trusted and knew that behind my smiling face as an educator and a mom and a wife, I was really just kind of faking it and living for the weekends and not really present in my family's life. She kind of saw through that wall of mine and offered me to come over to her house and hear about Thrive. And like most parties, I was like, I'm going to show up and I'm going to sneak out the back door because whatever you're selling, I'm not buying it. But I showed up for the sandwiches and the mimosas and jokes on me, you guys, because I ended up sitting in the living room and hearing how the Thrive 3 Simple Steps had changed their daughter's life. Lizzie was a big part of my life as an educator, and she has a great story, but because she shared her story, her family so kindly gifted me a 10-day trial of Thrive, which back then I just was like, I had no idea how golden that was. And I walked away expecting nothing, and it changed everything. First thing in the morning, I did my capsules on an empty stomach. 20 to 30 minutes later, I followed up with a shake, which actually tasted amazing and replaced my 4 cups of coffee before I headed to work. Last but not least, I slapped on my wearable nutrition, and I did this repeatedly day 1, day 5, day 10, and I got towards the end of my trial, and I kid you not, for the first time in a long time, I was actually excited to get out of bed. I was excited to play with my kids after work. No more crashing on the couch and not giving my family what they deserved. And it continued to get better and better every single day. And I have the Monglers and the Browns to thank for bringing the Thrive experience to my hometown, because had someone not shared it intentionally with me, not posted about it, but truly put it in my hands and said, I care about you, I know you need this. And it changed everything. Here 5 years later, 50 pounds lighter, it's changed my life. So when we had the opportunity to reach out to the CEO and celebrate our leadership and have the opportunity to pick his brain, it was a no-brainer. Allison, I can't thank you guys enough for looking at the screen right now of all of these people that have been impacted by sharing Thrive intentionally with people that need it for multiple different reasons. Everybody on this Zoom has different nutritional deficiencies or flaws, no matter how clean we try to eat, no matter how much we try to exercise. Like, I thought for sure that this product wasn't as good as they said it was. I thought it was very cliche to say people have no idea how good their bodies are designed to feel until they experience Thrive, until I shut my mouth, trusted my friend, and test drove it. And I've never done anything more consistent in my life than these 3 simple steps. So really excited and thankful for each and every one of you that shared this with everybody on this team.
Awesome. Thanks. I love your story. Like it never gets old because it's one of those that like wow, it really puts in perspective how important it is to share with everybody you care about and everybody you know because you never know the story that could come out of it. And I feel like that's something that we're so good at as a team is just getting people on Thrive and genuinely caring about them to start their experience. So um, share your background a little bit being a science teacher and how you were so intrigued with dermafusion technology.
I was a math and science educator, and then towards the end of my career, I was also a STEM educator. So I got the opportunity to inspire kids to to dream big, to look at something that already existed and fix the design and make it better. It was such an amazing career to be able to do that. I know most of us on here, probably sat back and watched Shark Tank, wishing, man, we wish we could invent something that's simple, people need it, and can change lives. And then, boom, here this was. And so, every single year, I felt like, even as an educator, loving my kids, loving being able to be a part of the district that I was a part of, I felt like deep down I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. I wasn't dreaming big. I was preaching it to my students, but I wasn't doing it myself. So when this came into my life, I was naturally intrigued by the dermafusion technology. I knew it hadn't existed yet. I Googled it. And the more my body responded the way that I never had responded to anything else, the more curious I began, the more I began to dig what is dermafusion technology. And as most of you guys saw in the graphics, there's now 30 plus patents with this company. So I saw an opportunity to really be a part of history. Like I said, teaching all of my students about Alfred Wegener, Madame Curie, Thomas Edison, people that were made fun of, debunked, most of their career until people realized, hello, like this is something really special. And so, looking back 5 years ago when people thought I was crazy, they thought this was a birth control patch. They thought I was trying to quit smoking and they thought it was for chemotherapy, and really got to be a part of something much bigger. Dermafusion technology, the Thrive 8-week experience, like it was a no brainer for me. So, use this opportunity to share with as many people as I could, was able to quit and walk away from waiting tables at night. I was able to do something that most educators and anybody on here that's in like the service industry, whether you're the front line right now, police officers, firefighters, nurses, was able to fill up my gas tank all the way, which is a big deal. Get groceries without having to check my bank account. I just saw this as an opportunity to really impact other people's health and wellness and help people be proactive instead of reactive. And I've seen it over and over. And my story is certainly not special. I'm looking on here at people who have had way different experiences than I have with inflammation and mental clarity and terrible headaches that they've had to deal with. And so to be able to be a part of a company that's simplified human nutrition, like, oh my gosh. And what's really cool is my students that I shared this with, I think they're juniors this year. And it's really cool because those kids are coming around graduating from high school and they're thriving with us too.
Yeah, that's super cool. Just all of your journey this far. I mean, I feel like when you started, your goals being a promoter were much different than your goals even a year into promoting. So much change in just a year. They say you see all those graphics and quotes that say, just 1 year could change your life. And it's true. I speak for a lot of people on this Zoom. So, Heather, share your intentions when you became a promoter. You clicked that promoter button, and then a year down the road, what it looked like for you.
I'm going to be straight up honest with you. When I heard about Thrive, I loved it, but I didn't want to tell people about it. I remember telling Darren Mongler, I was like, no offense, like I love Grey Goose Vodka, but I don't want to tell everybody about it. I already had 2.5 jobs. So the thought of adding something else to my plate, which I'm notorious for, and I know there's other women on here and men that were like workaholics, like we take 10 things off our plate to put 15 back on. But sharing this with people was so easy. People noticed the changes in me. They saw the changes in my hair, my skin, my clothes, my attitude, my mood. And it didn't feel like a job. I felt like it was a disservice not to share this with every single person that I came into contact with, because I know as educators, we were a simple group to share this with, right? We pour from an empty cup every day. We love our kids as much as we love our own kids. And so my intentions truly was to, like, if I get two customers ordering in the same month, which happened to be my sister-in-law and my mother-in-law, my Thrive is free, cool. As I got a little bit more into the company and I had the opportunity to get to Dallas and get to the convention and hear the passion behind the company, the brand, where it was going, I caught it. I caught the fire inside me that knew that this company was going somewhere with or without me, and I would be a fool not to push my chips all in. And so I went from, this is going to be a fun little side hustle, to I think I'm going to try to resign from education in 2 years. I think I'm going to pay off my student loan debt in 3 years. I think I'm going to, and then it just, vision board after vision board was able to do that. And, well, $60,000 in student loan debt is now 6 because of this amazing company. So one of the things that I've always loved and respected about Paul and Jason was, when I first drove to Dallas, you guys, I couldn't afford to go. I split a hotel room. I split gas money. I ate Taco Bell, and I hate Taco Bell, to get to Dallas and learn more about this company and where it was going. And I've never looked back. I've never looked back, because I knew that this was the best time in my life to, what do I have to lose, right? Just all in. I pushed my chips all in. I worked this business into the crevice of my days. I was answering emails in the bathroom, in the school parking lot. It just became just a part of who I am. And it's because of the leadership above me, which is why truly, that's why I had to recommend this team for this Zoom, because I wanted to really introduce everybody on this team that has not had an opportunity to hear the man that kind of hides behind the scenes. Like, I love me some Paul Gravett, but there's something about Jason's passion about this product and how unique it is and how we're just getting started. So I'm so excited to do this with you guys tonight.
Awesome. Thanks, Heather. We always appreciate your leadership, and thanks for introducing yourself and sharing your story. And it looks like Jason has joined us. So Heather, I'm going to pass it back to you, kind of let you introduce Jason, kick off the Zoom, since you nominated this team for this to happen tonight. This is an opportunity that we have never had, first in 5 years. So we're excited. Heather, I'll let you take it away.
All right. Thank you so much. Jason, thank you for being on with our team this evening. This means a lot. Thank you for taking time out of your crazy busy schedule. We appreciate you. Are you on?
I am here. Yeah. Thank you for having me. Excited to be on.
Oh my gosh. Can I tell you something really funny?
Yeah.
We've been able to, like most of us on this team, have been able to attach our name to this company for the past 5 years. And every time Paul Gravett comes to our event, he's so sweet. He's like, you guys don't want a picture with me. You guys don't want a picture with me, as he's taking pictures. And he's done that to me a couple times. And like one time I was like, no, you're right. I want a picture with Jason Camper. And we're talking to you right now. This is blowing my mind.
That's funny. Well, I'm happy to be on, and super excited to spend some time with you guys. So let's get it started.
Yes, sir. Thank you for being on. So Jason Camper, CEO, co-founder of Lavelle, the Thrive 8-Week Experience, 30 patents and counting. For those of on our team that are maybe veteran or new that don't know your story, can you kind of explain us your own personal Thrive experience story?
Yeah, definitely. For me, I relate to Thrive Experience from two different feels. Like, I'm a big feel guy. We always talk about what we're feeling, what our experience is. And for me, and why I continue to do the experience all these years later, it's not as much about energy for me. It's more of a mental feel. Like, I'm just not the same person if I wake up and don't do my steps, don't go through my regimen. And so all these years later, it's definitely a feel of who I am. And I can relate that way to a lot of things. Like, I'm a big fitness guy. I love to work out. I just don't feel great about myself if I don't go work out, or if I don't do this. And we all have those routines and regimens. But the product line, I just wouldn't be who I am without specifically those 3 steps. And then I'm what I would call a pureaholic. I'm always, you know, having a few pures throughout the day. I love pure also because you can have a little half of it. You know, everybody thinks you have to just do it all at once, but you'll find at my house, you'll find little half sip pure bottles all over the place. And I know where they're at because I'll come back later and get the other half. But for me, in all seriousness, it's been more of a state of mind. You know, I was not someone who had a ton of aches and discomforts, or I did not have a ton of weight I needed to lose. So I wasn't one of those people that necessarily had a crazy, this is what happened to me in 30 days. But having said that, I've actually been taking these products a lot longer than than 2012. You know, like the Thrive Shake, I formulated that in probably '09, the vanilla formula. So that been something that myself and Tracy were just taking daily. The capsule was in 2011 when I formulated that. The DFT was actually planned since day one in 2012 to come out at the same time. The plan was for the three to work and coincide together, but we had not figured out how to print on the foam. Like all we could do was just have plain white or pink or whatever type foam. We didn't know how to print on it, and then I didn't know how to coat it to help the shelf life get to 2 and even 3 years. It was like the DFTs would look almost moldy looking because we didn't know how to coat them the right way. So the after a certain amount of time, the shelf life was just gone, and the back would look kind of moldy because that was the ingredients going bad. But yeah, like I said, for me, it hasn't been a 30-day. This is the crazy story for what happened to me, but I can tell you years later, and even coming off the product for a few days, a few weeks, and you certainly know the difference immediately. But I've been a believer um, since I ever knew what proper nutrition was, and the impact that ingredient and nutritional flaws and things like that can have on the body. But needless to say, I'm a thriver for life.
I think it's safe to say all of us on here are as well. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Something I've always loved and respected when we do these conferences or Zooms or trainings with you, that you always preach that, Thrive Day Week experiences, it's a multivitamin, it fills your nutritional deficiencies, but ultimately you have to carry the water of, staying hydrated, putting good food into your body as best you can, and moving. It wasn't just this quick fix, get rich company. It was much bigger than that. So our team very humbly kind of refers to you as the modern day Thomas Edison, if I'm being honest with you, because you've taken something that kind of existed, but you looked at it, you looked at the quality of ingredients, the bioavailability is unrivaled. I've always loved that you said you can't three-stripe this company, and that's the truth. So when it comes to dermafusion technology, and this is my last product question, where did that idea originate? Because it's definitely unique. No one had ever capitalized on using your body's largest organ for absorption before. Where did that come from?
Yeah, so we had seen, the transdermal application come and go throughout many years, right? And there had been some attempts at kind of a DFT application, but they were always real gimmicky. They'd be like, they looked horrible for one, right? None of them looked good. None of them really worked, and they were real gimmicky. And uh, this guy came to me one time. This was many years ago, and he had a mosquito repellent patch, and he didn't know how to market it, he didn't know how to sell it, and he was wanting to know if I would help him and consult with them. And the product was ugly. I have no idea if it worked. They were very clearly not well capitalized. I knew the business wasn't, I didn't really want anything to do with it. But I started going, there's got to be a better way to do that, right? There's got to be um, I thought, okay, here's all these, this was 10 years ago. So here's all these patches starting to pop up, and there's probably going to be a lot of them. But someone's going to be like the Nike of them, right? Someone's going to be the Apple, someone's going to be the Ferrari. And then just the thought of, um, you know, being able to bypass your intestines, your stomach, where a lot of product breakdown happens, which is why the absorption isn't the same as with the capsule with the DFT. But the thing that you'll come to realize too is a patch only has X amount of real estate space, right? So you can only get X amount of nutrition on there. And I don't care what anybody tells you. I see these patch companies come and go all the time. We're suing patch companies left and right for patent infringement. And they're willing to say anything, and the biggest one is that their patch, they can hold 10 to 20 times more ingredient than XY, and it's all carnival jargon, right? It's not real. It's just a sales pitch. But what we learned a long time ago was, instead of trying to hang your hat on one or the other, right? Like most of these patch companies want to be DFTs, like that's all they do, and they think the answer is just their patches. We'll do this for energy, this for that, this for that. Or, you've got a consumable company where they don't say you need patches, and they don't like patches, one, because they don't know how to manufacture them and they can't get their hands on them. And that's why they say they don't like them and you don't need them. But the point is, we chose to not hang our hat on one or the other. We chose, when we realized the perfect scenario is a combination of all of it, right? Because you can only get so much on a DFT, and some nutrition is actually not conducive for the DFT delivery system, where we're pushing it through the derma, right? Like you cannot physically do that with some ingredients. So that's why in 2012 we knew a couple things. One, that the path that we were going to choose was about nutritional gaps and deficiencies. We want to put the right amount of nutrition in the body. And I had came to that conclusion many years before that, because I got so sick and tired of seeing all these supplement companies just running around with a Band-Aid fix, right? Like they would present a energy product to you, and it's XYZ stimulant, and that's why the body's going to have energy, because we're just going to jam a bunch of stimulants into the body. But no one was ever really looking at the root cause of why people are tired, or why they have aches and discomforts, why their body's inflamed, why this or that. And so they were just coming up with these Band-Aid ingredients to try to mask the issue on a day-by-day basis, versus trying to get to the root cause. And so our passion in 2012 was to launch this ultimate nutritional system and approach the root cause. And that was that everybody walking on earth has nutritional deficiencies and flaws. No matter how good they eat, don't eat, no matter how healthy they are, no matter how much they work out, everybody has some type of deficiencies and flaws. And so that was our passion. And things just kind of came our way, honestly, with dermafusion technology. We knew that as soon as we were ready, that we were going to be able to bolt it on as the third step. In 2012, we said we can't hold up the company any longer. We have to launch. We've got to start getting things going with the shake and the capsules. And then luckily, things happened faster, and things came our way that we were able to bring on DFT in early 2013.
It's incredible. And I tell you what, I know it's the most marketable part of the formula and it's only 1/3 of it, but I have to say, back in 2015, when I started being brave enough to wear it, where people, if they asked me what it was, I could speak on it well, my students started cutting their own DFTs out of duct tape and walking around the hallways like, I'm thriving. Like, it was really cool. And now they're old enough to thrive. One of the things that I've always loved and respect about this company, Jason, was the fact that back in 2015, when our team first joined, and I know Allison was a year before myself, you guys preached a lot about good leadership and reinvesting in your team, and not going out and buying a bunch of materialistic things, and seeing the bigger picture in the long haul of the company. We've got a lot of people on tonight that have either been a veteran promoter or they're brand new to the company. And I'm going to turn it over to our fearless leader, Allison, to continue with the questions about vision, because I wouldn't still be here because of her great leadership. Her leadership is unrivaled. Go ahead, sweetie.
Oh, I'm the queen of doing that. I get so excited that I just start talking and I'm muted. So I do that like every Zoom. Everyone's shaking their head, yeah, because it's true, it happens. So Okay, Heather, thank you so much for kicking that off. That was great. Hi, Jason.
Hello.
I want you to kind of introduce your journey as an entrepreneur because I know it started at such a young age and you've been an entrepreneur a lot longer than most of us or maybe all of us on here tonight. So, kind of just want to share where you were prior to Lavelle, how you got started as an entrepreneur, your journey leading up to this, because I feel like there's a lot of people on here that don't really know that story.
Yeah, I'd love to. I was on a Zoom just before this, and they asked a similar question, and I'll kind of hit both of them because I think there's some relevant. You'll learn a little bit kind of about my background, but you'll also learn the important things that I learned through that journey. Their question was not necessarily tell us your background, but it was tell us about some of the biggest failures in your journey and what you did about it, what it meant to you, and it's one of the most proud things that I am. Like when I look back on my path and who I am, and I don't have all the answers in life, but I certainly have a lot of answers in the space that I revolve in, right? And that's come from a lot of hardships and a lot of failures and a lot of small victories and a lot of big failures, all leading me to the way of Lavelle. But I started in this industry when I was in college, 21-ish years ago. And I knew that I wanted to be successful in life. I didn't know how I was going to be successful. I knew that I was a very driven person. I knew that I was a very motivated person. I was very hungry to go accomplish something besides the status quo, right? That was I didn't come from money. I came from a family that always had food on the table. But every time I wanted something special, the answer was no, you don't need that. And so I was a very hungry person. And hold on real quick. I've got my earbuds are dying. You there?
Yep.
Okay. So anyways, I started in this business 20-ish years ago, and I started as a promoter, as a sales rep, just like everybody on this line. I started with a free account, which wasn't free with the company I started with. And that went on for about 8 years. I was with my first company, and I didn't make a lot of money. I didn't have much success, but I was on every Zoom. I was on, there wasn't Zoom back then. I'm using it as a metaphor, but I was on every call, I was at every meeting, I was at everything that I could. And that accumulated a lot of knowledge on how to build this business as a promoter in the field, as a distributor. And that journey that started on accident, right, 21-ish years ago, by someone who became a mentor of mine. That journey started, and it still has not ended. Since 21-ish years ago, it went from multiple companies of building as a promoter, building as in the field, and then that led to me being on the corporate side of the fence, which many years of failures and getting going and some success and some this and getting promoted and working my way up, and then to eventually being on the C-level executive side of the fence and running many companies. And all that time, right, all that journey was an incredible amount of wealth knowledge and knowledge and knowledge accumulation. And like I was telling the Zoom earlier, Warren Buffett, he trains on a theory called the snowball theory. And the snowball theory is what he talks about, where the biggest problem with the average American is they're constantly changing professions and changing jobs so quickly, right? They're, one year they're a realtor, the next year they're working at a gym, the next year they're a hairstyler. Like they can't figure out what they want to do, and they're always jumping to this and that. And don't get me wrong, we all go through some search, right, to find out who we are, what we want to be, and we're trying to put it all together. So I'm not discounting that people do that or need to do that, but he was just saying, if you continue to start in one industry or one profession and you keep jumping, you keep starting this snowball of knowledge and education over every time you do that. And so, for better or worse, I didn't know it at the time, but just my endless pursuit of wanting to be successful in this industry, although at the time there was nothing great about what I was going through, right? And when the Zoom earlier asked me to talk about the biggest failures, they were horrible at that time, right? They felt awful. It was the weight of the world is on you, and we all go through these periods where we're not where we want to be in life. But everything, me looking back, the last 21-ish years, those were, looking back now, those moments were some of the most proud moments that I have, because it was the biggest stepping stone in getting me to where I am today, and turned into the person that I need to be to run this company. And one of the stories that I shared with that Zoom that I'll share with you guys, way before Lavelle, way before Paul and I had got together and even began talking, I had started building a software company, because I knew one day I was going to have my company, right? I was not going to be just the president or just the this or just the that. It was actually going to be my company. And through my involvement with these direct sales companies from an executive level, I saw one of the biggest pitfalls was all these companies, like 1% of them have their own software. 99% of them don't have their own in-house software, and they're relying on all these software firms to provide the software and provide the service, and it screws up your shipping, it screws up all your commission calculation. It's like horrible, and it hurts the company. And so I committed to building the software platform, and my plan was I was going to build this software company, and I was going to be a boutique service provider to various companies in the industry, direct sales companies. And I hired the team of programmers. We built the software. I couldn't get any clients. I couldn't get the business side going. I had a lot of things going on in my life at the time. I was still trying to develop products, yada, yada, yada. But it was this moment for me where I was like, God, I just spent a year developing all this software, developing all these tools, developing all these resources. And I was supposed to pick up all these clients, and this thing was really supposed to go. And then by the time I was going to have my company ready, then it was, I had this picture perfect thing that at that moment didn't work out, right? I had the vehicle, I had everything in front of me, but everything else was like it was falling apart. But yet, like 8 months after that was when Paul and I started talking. And Paul and I had always been casual friends in the industry, but we had never talked as potential partners would. And we started, realizing that me and him had a lot going on, just other than cheerleading each other in our own perspective projects we were working on. And so, all that being said, some of the worst nightmares that I've ever been through, one was getting the software developed only to fall flat on my face and have nothing going for it. But that's the very software that runs Lavelle today. I mean, that is the very software platform that runs the entire company. All the commission calculation, all the credit card processing, all the order processing, everything that runs this company is that software that I built previous to Lavelle. And so, where you get to in life is based upon what I would consider the failures and the storms you go through. Have you paid the price to show how much you know about the profession you're in, right? People ask all the time, I hated the question in college, well, what do you want to do? Well, I don't know. Well, what do you like to do? Nobody knows what they like to do. And the things they like to do usually don't pay money. Well, I like to work out. I like to play sport. Like, quit asking people what they like, what do they like to do? What do you know you like, right? People don't like what they do. They like what they know. I like this industry because I know a lot about it. People like what they know, and you get to that level of knowing something about something because you've been in that space for a very long time. And I've learned a lot in Lavelle, don't get me wrong, but it holds a fraction to what I learned prior to Lavelle. All those hardships would have never taught me what I know now about the software, about order fulfillment, about manufacturing, about supply chain, about how to run a team, about this, about that. And when you look at the story of Lavelle, year one, we did $10 million in sales. Year two, we did 100 million. So in 12 months, we jumped from 10 to 100. The next year, we jumped from 100 to 250 million. The next year, we jumped from 250 to 350. Can you imagine keeping the train on the tracks going through that amount of growth? It was humanly impossible. And Lord willing, we did it. We didn't have any commission issues. We didn't have any credit card processing issues. We didn't have any back order issues. We didn't have any customer service issues. Like, we would have never been able to do that had I not gone through what I'd gone through prior, had Paul not gone through what he went through prior. Just, we would never been the people that we were today to get this company to what it is and continue managing it. So if there's one thing at the end of the day that you got to keep your head up about, is that those challenging times, those dark times, the times that you think you're failing or you think that you're not, I mean, you know, good gosh, if I was to go back 10 years at the darkest time in my life, and then where I'm at now, eh, thank the Lord I didn't throw the towel in and quit, right? I mean, I kept going, I kept pushing that snowball. So that's a long-winded answer on my background question for you, Allison, but it's something that's very important to me, is that um, I paid the price, right? And I'm very proud of that. I stuck with it. I kept with it. I had a ton of naysayers. I had a lot of family laughing at me, family that just didn't, that thought it was just some thing. He's going to eventually drop it and go get a real 8 to 5, right? And I pursued after all those years and after all those times. And so my background wasn't necessarily the went to school and got an MBA at the best school, and I've got the best this and the best that, but I've got the best war story of what I went through to get to where I am today. And so I'm happy about that.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I feel like I always learn something from your story, and I had no idea about the software behind Lavelle. So that's cool to know. Another question that we had for you, I know that this is a lot of the promoters on here, this is their first go around with any direct sales company. We haven't had that experience in direct sales before. And I know there's a lot of shooting stars in the industry, a lot of companies that do come and go. And that's one thing that I do respect about you too, is the fact that you're always in the trenches. Like, you've been here for 7-8 years now, and you're still hopping on these Zooms, you know, when you really might not have to be. So I know that we all respect you from that level, but what would your advice be to promoters that want to be in it for the long haul and want that long-term success?
Yeah, I mean, I would look at it like a real business, right? See, that the challenging part about what we do is it's free to join, right? You don't have to do anything if you don't want to. There's no one holding a gun to you. There's no risk, right? It's very easy for anyone that gets involved with this company to do nothing. It's very easy, right? But let's look at it from another perspective. Let's say that we all partnered, we all threw in $50,000, $100,000 on this line, and we went to create the best restaurant the world's ever seen, or the best this and the best that. You'd have a lot of risk with that business. You've got monetary risk you've put in, and you have to go show up every day, right? You've got to bust your ass, pardon my French. And the option to not do anything is not there, right? There's a lot on the line. And even if there wasn't a lot on the line, right? You would just know, hey, if this business is going to be successful, if I want to be a highly successful realtor, a highly successful stylist, or a highly successful this or that, you're going to know that there's a lot of work there. And that's a long-term vision, and that's a real business. And you're going to be very realistic with yourself about what it's going to take, right? I mean, you know, if you start any business, you're not going to turn around 3 months later and go, oh, this isn't working. It's just not, it didn't happen. It's not, I opened my business 3 months ago and I'm not a millionaire. Just isn't going to happen. You'd be very realistic. So it's challenging with our company because it costs nothing. There's no risk, and you can easily do nothing. So have the same realistic view and mindset as you would with any business. You know, when I was on the promoter side of the fence and building teams, I used to always ask people, as a leader, you're there for people through the thick and thin, right? You pick up phone calls, and sometimes they're positive, sometimes they're negative, and your job is to be that leader. And when I would get phone calls from people where they're not really happy about where they're at, or I'm just, they're kind of on the negative side of the fence, I would always ask them, well, and not in a condescending way, right? Almost like a consultant, like I'm trying to work through, help them find the issue. I would say, well, are you putting in to the same level of expectation of what you're wanting to pull out? And they're like, well, you mean like time? I'm like, yeah. What are you putting into this business? Like, walk me through what you're doing day to day. Walk me through what you're doing week to week. And I mean, it's amazing how many people just don't either think or want to acknowledge that this is hard work, just like anything else in life. Like, if you want your kids to do really well in life, is that going to be hard work along the way? Like, yeah, right? If you want to do good at anything, it's going to be hard work. If you want to look good in a bathing suit, it's going to be hard work. If you want to be a good realtor, it's going to be hard work. If you want to do this, if you want to do that, anything you want to be good at is hard work. And I think sometimes people have this false reality about this line of work. Like, it's like magic beans you throw in the ground. Like, okay, I started my promoter, I ordered my products, I put out my first post, like I'm gonna sit back and just watch this take off. And it's not like that, right? I mean, it's a daily grind, and it's fruitful, right? I mean, you can accomplish here 3x, 4x of what you can accomplish in a lot of areas of line of work. So I'm not trying to say it's not rewarding. I'm just trying to say the long-term entrepreneur, the long-term brand promoter, the long-term athlete, the long-term anything successful in life is about being realistic of what it's going to take to get there, and understanding the peaks and valleys and the emotional side of this business, and that it's okay, right? You're going to go through thick and thin. You're going to have ups and downs. It's not always going to be sunny and 79 degrees with a margarita in your hand, right? Like, life is not like that every day of the year. And you've just got to understand that it's okay. It's a cycle, right? It's a cycle. Business and life is ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs. But if you zoom out and you look at the last year of what those ups and downs, the goal is to make sure that it always went up, right? And so, being a long-term promoter is really a gut check. It's really assessing, what do you want out of this, right? If your only goal is to make a couple $100s a month to pay for some bills, like that's perfectly fine. No one here on this line needs to tell you what your goals are. But if your goals are, hey, I want to do this, or I want to do that, or you heard Heather's story where she was talking about, I think paying off debt and then being full time at one point. Those are some life changing big goals where you're going to say, okay, there's going to be a level of commitment that's needed for that. There's going to be a level of dedication for that. And it's a real business building mindset and activity, just like any other business that I'm going to pursue. The plus side of it is I don't have to come up with a lot of capital like I would a traditional business. I can work this part time, around my lifestyle and my kids. I can't tell you how many people in this company that are top income earners that the first 6 months to a year building their business, they would come home from work, they'd hug the kids, and they'd run in the bathroom and shut the door, and they're talking on the phone in the bathroom because the kids are so rowdy, and they spent an hour to an hour and a half literally building this business in their bathroom at night. And so we have the flexibility to do that, but you just want to make sure that you've got the mental gut check needed that, hey, I can do this. There's everybody that's done this. They're no different than me. They're just as talented as I am. They're just as I am. The difference is they have put in the work, and they weren't just a talker, they were a doer. And so you just have to make sure that you line up with that mentality that you're here for the thick and thin, and you're not just here, right? You're actually doing. Are you putting into this business what you're expecting to receive out of it? Do those metrics line up, Allison.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's something cool about this company. You are rewarded for the work that you put into it. Our compensation is so good that it makes the hard work worth it, and you can see that hard work pay off. So one of the strengths we decided as a team, one of our strengths collectively, is the fact that we are passionate about the product, and I think that comes easy for us because we do get up, we take our 3 steps every day, so it's easy to feel that and feel passionate, and we're really good at getting customers. But what would be some tips as far as growing our teams and being able to share the vision and the opportunity and grow promoters on our team? Because I think that's something that is always a learning curve. You know, we're figuring out things that work and things that don't work. But what's your best advice for promoters, or even getting people on Thrive as customers and then getting them to see that vision and sharing them where they might become a promoter one day?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there's a couple things to note about it. The first one is that we retail to recruit, right? Like that's what we're doing at the end of the day. We're getting people on this product to become big customers, and then we know that some of those customers are going to flip over to passionate promoters. So it's an understanding of we're retailing to recruiting. The second thing that you want to understand is that you always want to remain consistent to lead with the product. And I know as hard as that can be sometimes, because we're so anxious to get a promoter that's just going to go tear it up and be the next biggest rising star, blah, blah, blah. And we're so ready to get these promoters on our team. But look at the average person waking up across North America, right? US, Canada, which is 90% of our market share, right? Those people waking up every day, the average person, the average Canadian, the average American waking up, how many out of every person that woke up today in America and Canada woke up thinking about they need a direct sales business or an MLM opportunity, right? How many people woke up thinking that, looking for that? Not very many. Like a fraction of a percentage of people woke up this morning thinking that they need to find an MLM company. However, if we ask the other side of the question, how many people woke up today wanting to lose weight, thinking that they don't have the energy that they used to have, thinking that they don't like the way they look, thinking that they don't feel this, look this way? Everybody wakes up almost every day thinking about their body, their health and wellness, the way they look, the way they feel. And so if you're running around leading with the opportunity and talking about the business, you're only going to relate to a very, very small percentage of people, right? You're going to start talking about the opportunity, and that's not what the normal person is even thinking about. They're going, what? Okay, maybe. Like, you might get a little response. Whereas if you're walking around leading and talking about what 99% of every person breathing is thinking about, now you're bringing a solution to the challenge they're thinking of, right? They were just thinking of, they want to lose some weight, or they don't feel good, or this or that. So you're going to get the masses by remaining consistent to leading with the product, and then retailing to recruiting. The next thing that you have to understand when we talk about building promoters is, and I talked about this on the Zoom before this, is your business is like a deck of cards, okay? Your business is going to be comprised like a deck of cards, meaning you're going to have 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, kings, queens, aces. Your business is going to be comprised of a lot of different people. You're going to have customers that just stay customers, and that's fine. You're going to have promoters that don't do a whole lot, and that they're great people. They're on all the calls. They order product. They're like a great cheerleader of sorts, if you will, but they don't really move the needle in terms of bringing a lot of volume to the table. That's great too, right? I mean, like, for instance, Allison, who's your sponsor?
Jim Brown. He's on here.
Yeah.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah. So if the only thing Jim ever did in Lavelle was bring you to the table, I would think Jim's happy, right? You know, and the same for Heather, the same for any leader on this. So we get so caught up in, and we're so anxious to find the biggest whale out there. But at the end of the day, there's people that make a lot of money in this company, and that residual income is comprised like a card of decks. There's going to be a lot of 4 promoters in there. There's going to be a lot of 5 promoters. Here's the beautiful thing though. It takes one Allison or Heather or anybody on this line to turn it all around. It takes one jack to show up. It takes one ace, one king, one queen, one, and it changes everything like that overnight. And so that's the thing that you're always in the pursuit of. You're looking for a 10, a jack, a king, a queen, an ace to blow your business up overnight. And so your job is to do everything you can with a promoter that is here to build the business, right? Your job is to try to make them as successful as they can be. But at the end of the day, if a 4 or an 8 is just simply not going to be an ace in your business, it's okay. Love them, be there for them. You still want them in your business, right? You can make a lot of money off of a ton of 4 and 5 people ordering product, right? Can we all agree with that? That's a great residual income, but you just can't get flustered or frustrated or think it's never going to happen, because once again, you need one. You don't need an army. You need one ace to show up and make everything happen. But it's a process, Allison. It really is. Like, for me, it was one of the hardest things for me as a promoter, because I was so business oriented. I was so business mindset. Sure, I love the products and I love this, but I was here to make money. I was here to change my life from a financial perspective. And so it was so hard for me because I was so not patient and let's go, let's get this going. But I brought so many more people into my organization if I stayed true to that, leading with the product. I brought on a ton of customers, and then I was very good about, I felt like the only reason I brought a customer to a table was to make them a promoter. And so I wasn't pushy, but I was always helping them see that there's more to this. Hey, there's more on the other side of the table than just great products if you choose to pursue it. And so you want to be that leader, right? You want to be that person that's always looking for the greatest promoter, and it is your job to help groom people, but you can't pull people across the starting line. You can't lead a horse to water. At the end of the day, if a 4 wants to be a 4, let them be a 4. You're going to have a lot of 4s. You're going to have a lot of aces, but go to bed at night with your head held high, knowing that, hey, all I need is one to change this thing, right? I just need one 10, king, queen, jack to show up, and my business changes like that. And then here's what's great. Usually when you find one finds another and another. And get good about leapfrogging. This is another thing, right? A lot of promoters, they think that they should only work with the people that they enroll, right? And the greatest promoters in this company, they know how to leapfrog, and I was one of those people, right? A lot of my biggest people in my organizations, I didn't recruit them. They always showed up, but I was very digging through my groups. I was leapfrogging, introducing myself to promoters that I didn't sponsor. And I wasn't like knocking people out of the way, right? I wasn't making the sponsor of that person feel unnecessary, anything like that. I was just making myself very out there and open to help and trying to find who those talented people were. And when I found one, man, I latched onto them and I rode them as hard as I could. Because when you finally find one, you've got to run with them. And the biggest thing in creating momentum and creating volume with our company is speed. It's speed, right? You see these people, they bring in a promoter and it's like, well, I'll give you a call next week when your product gets in and we'll get it going. Okay, have a good one. And it's like, what? This person's clearly excited. They just spent $400 on a promoter pack and you're going to call them next week to help them get going? Pick up the flipping phone. Let's call people now and get them to VIP 800. Like, speed and tenacity is the greatest asset that any top promoter has in this company. When I would get someone in on my business who I knew was a stud and they were excited, man, the first question coming out of my mouth is, hey, Allison, or hey, Heather, or hey, Tina, hey, whatever. I know you're really excited about Lavelle, and I'm super excited to help you get to where you want to go. I'm going to be really honest, though, to get you heading in the right direction. We've got to get you new customers and we've got to get you new promoters ASAP. And I'm here to help you do it. I'm here to help talk to these people for you and with you. So who are we talking to? Who are we talking to? Who can we get on the phone with tonight? Who can we talk to? I mean, I was always, who are we talking to next? Who are we talking to next? And when Heather enrolled her first promoter, Heather's still brand new. So I can't just drop it on Heather to work with the brand new promoter. I'm right there with her as her partner. And, you know, Allison brought in Heather and I'm going, hey, Heather, same thing. Who are we talking to? Who are we talking to? I mean, people that work like that are the people that jump ranks very quickly and make things happen. And then here's the great thing to know about speed and timing. When a new promoter comes into this business and they see you working like that, a new promoter only knows what you show them. So if you show them that, hey, speed, tenacity, now, urgency, that they just think that that's how this works, right? You're teaching them. You don't know you're teaching them, but you're teaching them with the behaviors they see you doing. If you're a procrastinator and say, hey, well, Allison, I know you're real excited, but we're gonna, you know, I've got school stuff with the kids going on this week. I know you just spent $800 on a VIP pack, but I'll give you a call in a couple weeks and we'll get this going. But hey, if you want to go sign up the world and tear it up, good, you know, I'll be rooting for you all the way. They see that too, right? And so it's all about how you react with these new promoters. But once again, retailing to recruiting and leading with that product is going to help you build the biggest organization, the biggest stack of cards possible.
Awesome. I like that validation from you, just hearing to lead with the product, because I feel like that's what we do and that's what we're passionate about. And so I'm glad to know that that would be your best advice for getting promoters on our teams as well. Another thing that I've said before is it only takes 54Ks to be 200K. And so we don't have to think a big picture, you know, trying to get the, like you said, the whale. It's really people just loving the product and sharing with maybe the people that are close to them that they can hit 4K and get a, you know, have that goal for themselves. But then also you get where you want in life by helping enough other people get where they want. So
Totally. Great point. I mean, here's the thing to think about too. If you were to look at our top 20 income earners in our company, I think one, maybe two, you know, initially came to Lavelle for the business side of things. Like, you know, Maria Dillard or any of these top people that earn, you know, 7 figures a year annually, they all started with the product. I mean, that should tell you why we retail to recruit and why we lead with the product. I mean, you know, like a couple people came to the table, signed up, created a free account for the promoter side out of the top 20 income earners. And then even that, there's only a couple that have even done this business before. You know, so that also tells you that, you know, no one's getting up in the morning looking for the next MLM company, certainly not an opportunity, but people are looking for products, right? That it's all about relating to people. But you're right, Allison.
yeah, and that even happened for myself as well. I got messages from people in other companies in college, you know, saying, oh, you know, so many people, you're around so many girls, you'd be so good at this or that. And the funny thing is, I never responded to any of those messages. I would actually click unread. That way they couldn't see that I read the message because I wanted nothing to do with it. But then when I saw Jim and Kelsey posting about how Thrive was helping, you know, so much with headaches and energy, like that's what got me intrigued. And I didn't even want to promote when I started with this company. So
Yeah.
it was a game changer. But last question, and then we'll let you go for the evening. But if knowing what you know now, starting Lavelle, would you have changed anything or done anything differently? And then in Denver, I know you shared a little bit about what's to come or what your vision is for, you know, 5 years, 10 years, 50 years down the road. And I don't know how much you want to share about that, but you know, what's your vision for the future of the company?
Yeah, so I'll kind of answer it backwards. So I'll talk about the future and the vision, the next 5 years and that, and then I'll talk about um, knowing what I know now, would I do anything differently? So the great thing about where we're at as a company is we're so young. I mean, and you look at how much low hanging fruit is still left for us. You know, a lot of these companies that reached $1 billion a year, you know, the mass majority of them, it took them like 15 years, 12 years, 15, 20 years. And, you know, we're only been launched since 2012, and 8-year-old company. And you look at how we're already pacing, right? We're completely shattering all records that were ever made in this space. And so you look at our projection rate, our run rate to become $1 billion a year company, and it's here in the next few years, as opposed to taking, you know, needing to take twice the time. And so you guys have got to look at that as the opportunity, right? The amount of net that you're able to throw to catch as much Lavelle growth fish, is all about how much room a company has left to grow, you know. And so if a company's 20-year-olds, if we're doing a Zoom tonight and I'm the owner of a 20-year-old company, I can't tell you those things. Now those owners probably still try to do that, right? And, oh, we're growing and we're gonna just keep growing and keep going, but they've kind of already ran their cycle, right, of a growth curve. And it's kind of like Apple saying they're going to go on to be the next biggest, like they've already had their run rate. You know, there's, what else can Apple possibly do? You know, Apple is huge. They're massive. They've already had their run rate. And so when you look at how much growth cycle is still left with Labelle, and here in North America, which is where we're focusing on, like, yeah, sure, we could go open, you know, Singapore and uh, all these other international markets, Japan, all these other places, but I don't want to do that because there's so much more market space left for us in North America, and in Canada. And then you look at some of the innovation stuff that we have coming down the pipeline, like the Thrive stem cell technology, and some of the other things that are in the lab right now heating up. It's crazy. And the thing that I would encourage each of you to ask yourself is, you know, that history is the best indication of future success, right? And everybody always asks me, well, what's the next 5 years look like? And I always say, well, probably about what the last 5 years has looked like. And do you like the way the last 5 years has looked? They're like, yeah, it's been awesome. Well, I mean, history is the greatest validation of anyone or any company, right? History can clearly tell you what the next years are to look like, you know. And so with us, we're going to keep being the same company we've always been, which is the most aggressive, innovative, industry leading. Like everything about us it screams we're not going to settle for third place, fourth place, second place. We've always set the pace. We've always wake up every day with two things in mind: first, the safety and the security of the company, and then second, to keep innovating and keep being the biggest and the baddest out there. And so the next 5 years is going to look a lot similar to the last 5 years. And I always ask people to ask them the same question: are you happy with the last 5 years of your life? And some people are, some people aren't. Some people say, no, I would like the next 5 years of my life to look quite different. And here's the thing: if nothing changes, nothing changes, right? If you're wanting your life to be more in the next years to come, you have physically got to start doing something different than what you've done years prior, right? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, right? I mean, if nothing changes, nothing changes. You've got to do something different for the years to come. So for us, we're always innovating, we're always evolving. And then even if we weren't, right, even if we just pressed pause on the product line development and on the innovation development, we just press pause, the amount of room we have left to grow in US and Canada alone, is mind-boggling. And that's really the run rate for you guys. When we look over the next 3 years right now at the amount of change that's going to happen with the amount of 200Ks in the company, the amount of Lavelle award recipients, the amount of 12Ks, like the amount of everything is just going to be so drastically magnified as the way we continue to grow and as how young we are and as we continue to becoming this more mature and maturing company and organization. That's the market share opportunity for you guys, right? Because that's what you're able to capitalize on as a company that's growing, right? And so you've got to make sure whatever it is you want to accomplish with this company, you're really seizing the moment right now. And as I hear a lot of promoters that are successful say they push all their chips in, right? I think we heard that at the beginning of the call with Heather. Pushing your chips in is at some point is what you've got to do. And that falls into what Allison asked me a second ago. Would I do anything differently knowing what I know now about Lavelle? And the answer is absolutely no. One of the proudest things that I have to hang my hat on in life, and I truly mean this, one of the proudest things about who I am as a person, when this company took off like a bottle rocket, right? And from 2012 to now, and I look at what it took to get this company to where it is. I look at what it took to keep it on the tracks when it was growing so fast. I look at the dedication, the time, the energy, the sweat, the equity. When I look at just everything that it took out of my life and other people's lives to get this company formed and where it is right now, I can passionately look anybody in the eye and say that I, as a person, didn't leave anything on the table. I mean, I dedicated everything I have to this company, every cent that I had, every amount of sweat, every amount of God-given talent that I had, time, dedicate everything. There wasn't one year that would go by. You know, we grew from 100 to 250 million. Did you leave anything on the table? Could you have done anything more for this company? No, I did everything. I laid it all out. I gave everything to this company. And that's currently in my life, that's the proudest thing that I hold my hat on, because I can look back and I said, I gave it all. I mean, I was literally lying there out of breath, almost dead, gave it everything. Everything that I had, I gave it. I laid it on the playing field. And for anybody to be successful, you have to come to that moment of pushing all your chips in and truly dedicating and committing, right? I mean, being a literal person, I'm going to commit to this. Well, commit to it. I'm going to do it. Well, do it then. I'm going to do it. Well, go do it. Go do it. Everybody talks about things, but very few do it. Go freaking do it, right? And at the end of the line, when they write the story about you, when they write the book about you, you're going to say, damn it, I didn't leave anything on the table. I gave it all as a person, who I am, who I have to work with, my God-given talents and abilities. I laid it all out on the playing field. And if you're able to say that, I guarantee you're able to also acknowledge the goals and dreams and everything else that you want to accomplish. They may have not all came true, but you've drastically changed your life. So what do the next 5 years look like for you? I don't know. Are you going to leave it all out on the table? Are you going to leave it all out on the playing field? When year one goes by and someone asks you, well, could you have done more? Are you going to be able to say yes or no? If you live that way and the next 5 years go by, it's not going to be me talking on this Zoom. It's going to be you talking on this Zoom, telling us how you got it done, telling us how you did things differently. So next 5 years for us is going to be great. It's going to look about like the last 5 years has looked, which I say is pretty good, if I say so myself. And unless there's anything else, it was a real treat for me to be on with you guys. And thanks for spending time with me.
Yeah, thanks for hopping on with us. We appreciate it and just appreciate your dedication and you pouring your heart into the company every day. You've impacted thousands and millions of lives just by saying yes and making a decision to follow your dreams. So we appreciate it. And thanks for hopping on and spending your evening with us. Thank you, Heather, for nominating our team and hosting the Zoom. We appreciate it. You're an awesome leader as well. Have a great night, everybody. thanks for joining, and we will see you on the next Zoom.
See you on the goat this weekend. Bye-bye.
Yes. Bye. Thank you so much.